And good afternoon on a fabulous Friday, right here of July. Glad to have you here for Weather and Ag in Focus. I'm Ag Director Bridgette Readel. And big things going on today. So much to share with you, especially with upcoming events that we have to not only be a part of our farmer community, but then also we want to honor veterans and bring them the beef, you might say. What do I mean by that? Tuesday, July 21st in Minot at the North Dakota State Fair, you have the opportunity to be a part, especially if you are active duty military, reserve, and National Guard. You can be a part of the annual Military Appreciation Day brought by the North Dakota Stockmen's Association, North Dakota Cattlewomen's, and the North Dakota Beef Foundation and Beef Commission as well. Activities are going to be at the commercial building on the fairgrounds. They start serving at 11 till 1, but if the food runs out, too bad. Get there quick. Bring the family. There's games for the kids, and it's a great way to promote the fact that we truly appreciate our military. There are so many strong ties between rural and farm communities and to our military across the nation. And here in North Dakota, we want to say a big thank you to what's going on by presenting a beef dinner for those who are in attendance at the state fair. Games for the kids, so there's something for everyone at that event. Now, it is haying weather. In fact, as I've been driving today, I'm near Streator, North Dakota. I have been seeing what's been going on for hay baling season. So let's fire off that hay raking forecast for this Friday. Tell you what, with Dean's forecast saying that we may see some moisture at the end of the month, it will be interesting to see if that coincides with Ag PhD Field Day. That'll be on Thursday, July 30th in Baltic, South Dakota. Later in the show, I'm going to visit with Darren Hefty of the Ag PhD media team, as well as Hefty Seed Company. And repping for him today, I got my Ag PhD t-shirt on, and we're going to get all the details of that upcoming event from Darren. I wouldn't mind if it was a little bit cooler. Now, I've been there before when it rains, and I'm going to warn you, if it does rain, it's worth your time to bring a set of mud boots, certainly a pair of tennis shoes. Flip-flops aren't going to cut it, because we're literally in the field when we go to the Ag PhD Field Day. If you are curious about more details, well, you can make sure to give me a call on the JLA Insurance phone line. That number is 701-293-9000. Nate Thorsrud, he is a farmer himself. He understands what's going on with your crop insurance, your farm insurance, and so much more. And if you aren't carrying a liability insurance, you're going to want to have a talk with Nate about that. So you can call me to ask questions, or you can reach out to him with your specific crop insurance and farm insurance questions as well. Again, that's JLA Crop Insurance. If you're wondering, again, what's that Ag PhD t-shirt look like? Well, you're going to be able to see me on our Lighthouse Commodities live stream, brought to you on Facebook, YouTube, Acres TV. Thanks to them for making sure that you can see all the things that happen during a show right here on Weather and Ag in Focus. Hot weather brings so many things to mind. We mentioned haying season for a lot of farms, but there's also fairs. And as you are transporting animals to and from the fair, let's make sure to keep them cool. and reminders from veterinarians to do things like, all right, if you need to stop on the way, I understand sometimes the family in the pickup needs a restroom break. Don't dilly-dally. Let's keep going. We want to make sure that we keep that breeze blowing through the trailers, whether we are transporting sheep, cattle, or hogs. Animals don't sweat. And so they're not like us. They can't use it as their cooling method. What are the things that we can do to help out? Well, a horse can sweat and they're going to evaporate a lot of their moisture off their skin. But if it's humid, that evaporation doesn't really occur and the sweating is much less effective. Horses can aid decrease their body temperature by increasing their respiratory rate, and that increases blood flow to the skin to radiate off the heat. Cattle, well, they can kind of sweat, but it's not quite the way you would think. Cattle will pant up to 100 breaths per minute. Normal is right around 20 to 50, and that 100 breaths per minute is during severe heat stress. Cattle also really want shade, and they're going to seek a lot more water consumption. So keep the water flowing. We talked about avoiding cyanobacteria on reservoirs and streams and pasture stock tanks. So clear fresh water when you're at the fair, well, it's a little easier to do, putting it right in front of them, and they're going to want a lot. Sheep and goats, similar to cattle. But pigs, yeah, they don't sweat. They're going to pant. They're going to look for cool places to lay down. They probably like a little extra straw bedding to burrow into, if you will, to get away from the heat. In fact, I had a show hog dad tell me that one of the ways that they helped out their hogs in the trailer was to spritz them with rubbing alcohol instead of water. Water can dry out the skin, whereas the rubbing alcohol helped them retain moisture and cool the critters down. There's something called the temperature humidity index, and it's the best way to know if your animals are going to have any heat stress while in transport or otherwise. How that works is take the temperature minus 0.55 times the temperature. So get your old high school algebra calculations out, start putting that together, or you can simply go look up a temperature humidity index chart and it will tell you things to remember. For cattle, you need less than 72, so that's when no heat stress is expected, but more than 89 is pretty severe. So prepare for that heat. If you can, haul in the cool of the night. Back a couple years ago when the heat was really affecting the Minnesota State Fair, we saw lots of trailers leaving at midnight, 1 o'clock in the morning, so that they could haul in the cooler temperatures versus the hot part of the day. And pack some extra water in those trailers as well. You can even pack paste electrolytes when it comes to horses if you can't get them to drink. Water electrolytes are good, but they really have to make sure to consume that. So have a great time at the fair. Keep up with the animals. And you know what? It's often where you see some of the biggest, best fans. And I don't just mean the grandparents clapping in the stands, those fans that are blowing around in the barns to keep everybody a lot cooler. You know, money's always been tight on the farm, and for decades, we've noticed that red seems to be the favorite color of so many barns. So, is there a reason why to that? Well, it's a historic color, there's no doubt. But when you look at the physical evidence, the real answer is because that red pigment was not only interesting to put on a barn, it was attractive, it was cheap, very durable. Nobody wants to have to paint a barn more often than needed. And as a kid who had to help paint buildings when I was young, yeah, I don't want to have to paint them any more than had to. So red, certainly a standout color. There were iron-rich clays that would create the iron oxide, and the pigments were then mixed with linseed oils from flax, which we raise a fair amount of flax here in the region. And it was really a paint that covered well, didn't fade, and when it started to weather away, it even still looked okay. White was very fashionable in the late 1700s and early 1800s, but then as things came along, people were able to show maybe a little bit more wealth, but also, again, they had other things to do besides continually painting buildings. Red became really popular as a very practical choice. And a lot of the barns that you see out there have great history that go with them. So it's not just their color. When you think about the shape design, it's not easy to find round barns anymore, but they do exist. Some of those hip roof barns aren't in the same condition they once were. But above all, people who worked on them, built them, and have worked to save them have done a great job. And red, well, again, so durable that it still shows up on barns in a variety of places. Always much to talk about here on Weather and Ag in Focus, and we're going to continue to do that. We've got a number of other topics. want to make sure to bring up throughout the day. Again, our guest who's joining us is going to be Darren Hefty. Darren is with Ag PhD Media and Hefty Seed Company out of Baltic, South Dakota. We'll talk about their upcoming event. But first, let's see what's shaking in the livestock market. That's brought to us by the American Ag Network. We'll catch up with them and return in just a few moments. Are you thinking about doing a building project? If so, Anderco Enterprises is ready for you. They can help you with new steel, commercial, industrial, or agricultural buildings. And that's been their business for more than 20 years, bringing trusted reputation, solid work ethic, and great reliability to their building projects. Whether it's for your business, your farm, any other operation, they will help you get it done right from the start. They do the start to finish construction with expert planning, superior craftsmanship, and on-time delivery. Now, you don't hear that every day. So when you want to do a business and building that's built to last, trust Anderco Enterprises. You can reach them at 701-277-7078. Or you can go to andercoenterprises.com. Again, strength built to last. You know, often we talk about all of the technology that's available for the farm and on the farm. But how much of it actually gets used? In all reality, we'd use more, but it comes down to expense. It's kind of like when the new next great shiny thing comes out on an automobile. Do you get the chance to buy it first? Not always. Sometimes you have to wait until there's maybe a little bit of a price drop after things have been on the market for a while. To be honest, I think the greatest innovation that's happened in pickups in decades was movable pedals. And for those of you who tell me that I sound taller on radio, there's a reason why those movable pedals come in wildly handy. But what are other hurdles to adapting more technology on the farm? In some ways, we can start talking about crop and weed science, how we in agronomy are trying to control weeds in a variety of ways. Not all herbicides work the way they once did. Some of the oldest chemistries we've used are coming back because they still do work. We see a return to more tillage. But then there's great innovative ideas, whether we're using lasers, fire, so much more. And so our programs that weed scientists are using have kind of shifted away from not just herbicides, but a total cropping system employing a number of these items. It's great fun for me to drive down the highway and see some of the electric peppers field that are knocking out weed problems that maybe aren't as easy to control in a crop with a herbicide, or it's much later in the season and we're past the point of being able to effectively spray our crop for it to be safe. So we can do that with some of the weed zappers and other things. And people in dry climates, they might not want to use tillage the way that we can in other areas. They may say that's just sucking out too much moisture, and I want to make sure that it's a better fit for me. So they're relying on some of these newer technologies. Seed destruction, we've talked about in the past, like on a combine, having something similar to a hammer mill on the back of the combine that's smashing the shaft and any weed seeds that might be coming out the back of the machine. And in doing that, you're decimating them so they're not going to germinate and cause problems later on in another growing season. With weeds, that can give you weed crops. So like the weed seeds that come off a plant can be anywhere from 100,000 to a million seeds. You better smash as many of those seeds as you possibly can. The electronic control, not always proven, but man, it keeps getting evaluated. Some of those laser weeders, electric weeders, fire weeders, they've been used since the 80s. But now we're seeing a better refinement of that technology. And it's even become a little bit more precision. Spot sprayers. Pretty much every company out there has some sort of software that can get us to a spot sprayer. They're camera based, they have AI that's driven those systems so they can identify weeds so quickly as the nozzles turn on and off to hit specific areas of the field. It can save money, it can save time, but also we know that it's not exactly a perfect system. And that's where we have to employ some of these other ideas as well. It's kind of an arms race to getting things controlled as quickly as we possibly can. Now, along those lines, with the technology that we have, it can be a little more difficult to actually do some of your own repair work. Growing up mostly in the 80s, late 70s into the 80s, a lot of work was done on farm. In fact, during those droughts of the late 80s, farmers got really good at doing their own repair work. They became much better welders and fabricators. And now people want to be able to still continue to work on their equipment. But that hasn't exactly been so easy, whether it's on the farm or in the car that you drive. And so that's where the right to repair work has come into play. And there has been a recent ruling by the Federal Trade Commission allowing there to be the ability of consumers to do more work on their own equipment versus just having to rely on a dealership. Back in the 70s, many automotive and electronic manufacturers made it harder for consumers to use parts that were not produced or authorized by the manufacturer's product warranty. And those product warranties and practice have still drawn widespread criticism. It's felt they suppress the competition and encourage planned obsolescence. Those are two of the biggest complaints. But consumers have a tool that's widely underused. There's a 1975 law that prohibits voiding a warranty simply because an independent mechanic or a part from an independent vendor has been used. This measure was designed to discourage the production or sale of low-quality products and sought to prevent you as a consumer from restrictive coverage or bad faith corporate negligence. One reason that consumers are largely unaware is that most find the text of warranty terms and disclaimers hard to read. I mean, let's face it. With every time you download a new app and all of the jargon pops up, you just scroll to the bottom and click agree, right? You're not always reading all the fine print, whether that's with your apps, other software on computers, on your farm equipment, on your new vehicles, and so much more. And so manufacturers see warranties as sunken costs that could be avoided, and they have no incentive to clarify those or to honor. many cases. Willing the opportunity to see more work being done to equipment and to vehicles on our own. We can hold back and do that. But is it always the right thing to do? Because if you don't have the expertise and you truly mess something up, then what's your fallback? It's not always quite as easy as we want it to be. I think this is a pretty big two-sided coin. I'd like to be able to do some of that work without having to call a dealership, but I also realize what my limitations are. And so hopefully we all do when it comes to getting some of that work done. But it's ever so frustrating when you have a breakdown and you're waiting for a technician who's at least 48 hours away and you're up against a time crunch and you really need to get things done. On a positive note for this Friday, let's talk about the World Livestock Auction Championships. Most recent champion is Jace Thompson, and he is an auctioneer from Billings, Montana. So he's 23 and he just won the world. He and his dad, Ty, who was the 2009 champion, are now the first father-son duo to ever have this very prestigious title. He is not only an auctioneer, but he's a third-generation cattleman. And Jace really has grown up completely immersed in the industry. He's thought about doing real estate, but the opportunity to come back into the family auctioning business got to be a little high. So he was very prepared to go into this competition, and he will spend the next year driving a custom rep World Livestock Auctioneer Champion pickup to show off and make sure others understand what kind of benefits come from going through this sort of competition. It certainly is something besides just your chant and how quickly you're able to sell that bull in the ring. It comes down to mentoring others and also being able to do more homework on the product that you're selling. And in that situation with livestock, understanding the good and some of the other points that have to be made about the animal that might be in the ring. He was joined in the winner's circle by folks from Texas, Kansas, Iowa, and so many more. And this was recently held at the auction barn in St. Ange, South Dakota. That was back in mid-June. So congratulations to Jace for doing that. The 2027 World Livestock Auctioneer Championship, those qualifying events are going to be opening up very soon, and next year's championship will be held in South Lake Tahoe. Looking forward to hearing who the winners are of that. Earlier this week, we talked with Max Steffes of Steffes Group, and he said, his grandpa Bob won, his dad won. He's not sure if that's in the cards for him yet, so we'll just wait to watch one of our favorite auctioneers in the region to see if Max is competing down the road in some of those world championships as well. The Farm Bill is being talked about quite a bit. The markup session has been going on. What are some of the things that we will be seeing coming up in the Farm Bill discussion? Items that will be highlighted for you. Credit and loan expansions to combat the ongoing farm cost price squeeze. The draft of the Farm Bill significantly bumps the FSA direct farm ownership loan limits to $850,000 and guaranteed ownership loans to $3.5 million, and that starts with fiscal year 2027. CRP program. The payment limits will go from $50,000 to $125,000. It also gives the USDA broader discretion to authorize emergency haying and grazing for up to 50% of CRP acreage during localized natural disasters. That's come in handy in a lot of areas. When we're short on hay or grazing lands, think about some of those areas in Nebraska where they lost out during the wildfire and they've had far less than 3/4 of an inch of rain so far this season to replenish any of their grass. Finding other areas where they could be getting some CRP grass for grazing or haying can make the difference in their livestock production operations. And lastly, the foreign land oversight. And this is text that strengthens the Ag Foreign Investment Disclosure Act, and it imposes strict new penalties for noncompliance. Foreign entities that knowingly submit incomplete, misleading, or false reports regarding their U.S. ag ownership will face steep minimum civil penalties of 5% of the land fair market value. Those are some of the headlines that are going on today across the region, across the globe, and we've got many more to come after our discussion with Darren Hefty with Ag PhD Media and the Hefty Seed Company. And we'll talk to Darren just in a few minutes. I mentioned it earlier, hoping for great weather on Thursday, July 30th, because that is indeed Ag PhD Field Day in Beltic, South Dakota. I got my t-shirt on. I'm all ready to go. I just want some very nice weather. And one of the guests that'll be joining us there is Tech Support Farm from West Fargo. Chris will have a booth. Chris Sherman is the principal owner. He will be on a learning session on one of the stages to share his wealth of knowledge about protecting your farm cybersecurity. And there's a wealth of other items that will be going on that day. And here to talk about them is Darren Hefty with Ag PhD Media and Hefty Seed Company. Darren, I had a friend text me just before the show. He's never been there before. Where do I begin in telling him the things that happen in that day?
Oh wow, yeah, that's going to be fun. I don't even know where to start either, Bridget. It's just a super fun day. The Ag PhD Field Day we're talking about, and it's coming up Thursday, July 30th. It's right on our farm, and so I get to look at all of our research plots whenever I want to, which is kind of nice. And I've been out there a bunch this week, just looking at how things are coming along. For me, I like the production ag side of it. I like the crops. We've got probably a dozen different crops out there this year, including rice and cotton, which I'm sure everyone in North Dakota is excited to go see. But edible beans, sugar beets, the obvious ones, corn, soybeans, wheat, and more. It's really fun. So we get to see a lot of things right in the middle of the growing season. And a couple that I'd point out this year, we have two new soybean traits that are going to come out in 2028. First of all, for everybody in the Red River Valley that's fighting soybean cyst nematode, some of the highest nematode counts anywhere in the country are in the Red River Valley. Well, the first BT product to control soybean cyst nematode is in this Nemasphere trait. We're really excited about
Hmm.
that, and it's going to be stacked onto the Enlist technology, which over half of farmers across the country are already using. That's pretty exciting. So it's already something you know. Plus, you add on nematode protection and tolerance to HPPD herbicides, which is pretty
Hmm.
cool as well. So we got more herbicides that you could potentially use and also wipe out a bunch of nematodes. That would be wonderful. The other trait a lot of folks are already talking about is called Viconic. There's been quite a bit of marketing behind this one already. This is the Extend Flex trait, but it's also stacked on with HPPD tolerance and 2,4-D tolerance. So quite a few different herbicides that you could potentially use in Viconic. No more worries about any drift from anything else, or honestly, a lot of tank cleanout issues would go away because I didn't get my HPPD cleaned out. Well, guess what? It isn't going to hurt these beans. Or I didn't get my 2,4-D cleaned out or my dicamba cleaned out or whatever. It's not going to hurt these beans. So kind of excited about that, and they look really good. We've got 34 different varieties of Iconic that we're looking at, and they look great all the way from a 00 up into an early group 4. So they're going to come with a full gamut of material for this year, which honestly, in the North, we get burned on a lot of these new traits. It's like, well, it's out and you're excited about it, but you aren't going to get it for a couple of years because they don't have any early beans. But Viconic will have early beans, and we're going to show them because they look great. In fact, they're starting to put a few pods on right now, so they're coming along really nicely. Along the lines, Bridget already mentioned the great speaking sessions that they're going to be at the Ag PhD Field. And you can say, I want to look at crops probably a little bit in the morning, but then I want to learn some more things. What else are you going to teach us? We've got everything from estate planning. Just hey, a way to save money as you're purchasing land and save money on taxes on the land that you already have. That's kind of a big deal. You already mentioned just some of the different tech things, cybersecurity. I'm amazed how many farmers I talk to that say, we've got all this data and all my financial data, everything, and I have no idea how to protect that. I don't have a team that's working for me. So it's kind of nice that there are people out there, and we're going to introduce you to them as well. And yeah, it's just so much to see. It's going to be a fun day.
You know, some of the things that are on the schedule. Well, first of all, this is an early bird situation. I, the first year I
Oh.
came down, I knew I should get there early, but I was not prepared for the line to get in at 6:30 in the morning. So don't dilly dally. Get there quick is probably my first piece of advice.
Yeah, well,
And
I'll say that
you,
a lot of farmers like to come early, Bridget. So you're right. It's cool in the morning, and people are just excited. A lot of folks, especially ones that
yeah,
come from a long ways away, we're only 10 miles out of Sioux Falls, So they'll get a hotel room in Sioux Falls and kind of check out the downtown scene there. There's tons of restaurants and things to do. It's really a wonderful town. And then get out to
Oh,
the field day early. Come out as early as 6 if you want to. We really start things at 7, but a lot of folks like to get there early and get ready to go.
we have questions rolling in for you, Darren. One of them is, how
Sure.
many acres of both cotton and rice are out there? My and
Not too
com-
many.
and a
Not too many.
they're little, but in a
Yes.
companion to that is that just to show rotation, or is it because you have people coming from all over the United States that you have the rice and the cotton out there?
Well, it's because we have people from all over, but the other thing is just to show some different situations. For example, one of the big concerns when enlist soybeans were coming out is guys were very nervous. Hey, we've got some crops like cotton that are pretty sensitive to 2,4-D. So we said, no problem. Let's put some cotton. We've got 10-foot grass walkways between some of these plots. Let's put cotton 10 feet away. Let's spray and see what happens. And oh, by the way, we're going to spray the grass walkway with Enlist as well to kill a few dandelions that are out there. Let's see if we have any drift issues. And it's a great opportunity to learn when you've got all those crops around. So there's a few reasons that we do it. Plus, it's just interesting. And, we're all farmers and we just like doing things that, oh, you can't raise that in South Dakota. Okay, well, we'll try. And we've actually had a couple of years where we've got enough heat that the cotton's made it. Now, not every year, but like 2012, we had fantastic cotton because it was hot and sunny every single day, like the cotton likes.
That leads to the next listener question is, will you harvest the rice, or is it just for demonstration purposes at that life stage of the plant?
Yeah, that one's just going to be for demonstration purposes. Now, the potatoes that we grow, we absolutely harvest them, but yeah, some of the crops are just I don't know why canola. We haven't harvested it for yield, and as soon as field day's over, the canola disappears. And I'm like, why are we worried about the canola? We know how to control volunteer canola. Let's see how this stuff yields out here. But I'll say this: part of the reason that we don't harvest some of these crops is you can walk in there. You can pull a plant if you want to. If you want to see what a cotton plant looks like, tear the bowl open. That's fine with me. I don't care. I want you to get the most out of it and learn as much as you can. And some of it is for farm kids. That when are they ever going to get a chance to see cotton? If you're a farm kid in North Dakota, this is going to be your first time seeing cotton. I want you to enjoy it. I want you to check it out and take some pictures. It's going to be fun.
Speaking of being a farm kid, there are things for kids. This isn't just for dad to walk around and kick the tires, or for mom to take a little peek as either she drives equipment or balances books. She might be a part of the operation. There's something going on for everyone in your operation, right down to your kids.
Yeah, absolutely. And I know sometimes too, the other side of that, Bridget, is we had one farmer reach out and he said, I'm 92 years old. I'm still active on the farm. But he said, my mobility is not as good as I'd like. Do you
Uh huh.
have golf carts, or could I bring a golf cart? And we said, absolutely, we've got golf carts, and there's going to be plenty of them around running around also. So no matter what age you are, you're sure welcome to come. It's a free event. Parking's free. Admittance is free. The food is free. All the snacks and ice cream and things like that all over the field day, it's free. We just want to say thanks to everybody for all the support over the years. Obviously, we've got a number of companies that are working with on many of these research plots and showing off new equipment, and that's exciting. They're all helping out on this too, so that everything can be free for everyone. And yeah, if you're a farm kid, you will get to climb up in this brand new equipment and sit in the cab and check things out. And I know you will, and I know you're going to take pictures, and that's great. Everybody likes that. It just makes it more fun for all of us. And we've got an absolutely gorgeous flower garden that we're showing off there too. It's something we've done for a number of years. It's a memorial garden just in honor of a few real special people to us, including our dad. So yeah, just lots to see there. Bring the whole family. It'll be fun.
And wear good shoes. This is a slightly rolly terrain. So as you mentioned, there are golf carts, but for those who are great walkers, remember it can be dry, it can be wet. You have to plan ahead. And the only time I've seen someone have to pull out their wallet is if they want one of these great commemorative T-shirts from Ag Swag. So they have to keep that in mind.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
Also,
The other things that I mentioned, Bridget, there's an air show, and this one is
yes.
dependent on the smoke. We had a year where the Canadian wildfires, and we had a north wind day of all things on our field day. We almost always have south winds this time of year. But if you were in the Fargo area or north yesterday, you know what I'm talking about. When the smoke blows in, it
Mhm.
just wasn't safe for the planes to fly. But it's a pretty high odds that's not going to happen, and you'll get an air show that day for free as well.
Who does the flyover? That was one of the questions I have coming in, and then I have a couple others for you as well.
Well, it's kind of cool. It's a cool little ag tie because it's an ethanol powered fleet, and they want some practice. And we just happen to be about 20 miles away from their home airstrip, and so as we just build connections over the years, that's one thing about doing something for 20 years. You just get to meet a lot of different people, and when somebody says, "Hey, we do a little air show, but we don't get enough practice. Would your event be open to that?" And we're like, "You bet we would." We just had, in fact, the FAA has been known to show up to our field day just to watch and make sure everything's good. And I don't know whatever checks these guys need to be able to do what they're doing, but that's pretty cool too. So we will have drones at the field day, and for a couple hours in the middle or whatever time around this air show, they'll say, okay, no drones flying now. We got to be safety, and that's great. But it's kind of cool to see some of these drones now that are hauling 250 pounds or more. It's pretty cool. You can get a lot of work done with them.
Every day on this show, I remind folks that we live stream on the Acres TV app. Acres TV has the Netflix of agriculture. There are so many different content providers on that free app that hope people can be downloading and watching. It happens at Weather and Ag in Focus is the only news and weather portion of that app. And I'll
That's
be
all we
there.
need.
Our show
That's
will
all we
be
need
live
on there
that
is
day.
one. We
Thank
just need
you.
one.
Uh,
And the cool thing at Acres TV is a lot of those programs and programmers come to the Ag PhD Field Day. So it's
yes,
just
they do.
been a great community for us to be a part of, to just meet all these people. And a lot of these folks have quite the following. Earlier, about a month ago, here we had our Scouting and Scholarships event, and Emerson King came up from Kentucky. And it was like, well, hey, Emerson, how are you doing? And it's pretty cool to see all those young people, and they're like, hey, he's here in person. That's really neat. And so yeah, you get to meet a lot of the different programmers. And if you haven't downloaded the free uh, Acres TV app on your TV or smartphone or whatever, I'd encourage you to do it. That yeah, you can see our show as well.
Last question from a listener was, where should I stay? Do you have a recommendation? But we know that Sioux Falls is easily traversable. I'm not sure if there's a specific area you would recommend, Darren.
Yeah, my personal favorite, I love the downtown area. If you want to stay in a little more expensive digs, there's a brand new Canopy Hotel. It's downstairs that is amazing, right along the falls. So you can check out where Sioux Falls gets its name. But there's other hotels right in that downtown area too that are really, really cool. So depending on what you want and what your price tag is, quite a few places to stay that are all like 10 to 15 minutes away from the field day. So getting here early ahead of Bridgette is pretty easy to do.
Thanks. I now I have to have a bigger race to the front gate. Okay. All right. So a free day, Thursday, July 30th. And is there anything I'm missing, Darren? Last thoughts for our listeners?
Well, I would just encourage you go to agphd.com. You can find the schedule for the day, directions to the event, all those things, and you can sign up or pre-register, I should say, and that'll get you through our gates even faster. So you can just get right to having all the fun that you want to have. I hope it's a great day for you. I hope you learn a lot. And if you haven't been there before, this is your year. The weather is supposed to be absolutely beautiful that day. I don't want to jinx anything, but if the forecasters are right, and they are about 50% of the time, I'm going to bet that this year they're going to get it right on the money. It's going to be a gorgeous day.
Looking forward to it when I get to see you down there, Darren. Thanks for joining us today.
Yeah, thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Okay, folks, one more check of the weather, couple more headlines when we return. Well, it's not the hottest Friday we've had, but she's still pretty good out there. Little cloud cover here by Streeter, North Dakota says my pickup gives me an 82-degree temperature reading, but let's see what the hay raking Friday forecast is for everybody else. The U.S. Department of Agriculture has more than 2.2 million acres accepted into the Conservation Reserve Program, known as CRP, for fiscal year 2026. And that's following what the agency called a very competitive enrollment period. This spring, producers submitted nearly 2.5 million acres for consideration under the General Grassland and Continuous CRP signups. Nearly 1.5 million acres of CRP are set to expire on September 30th of this year, and producers submitted offers to re-enroll 982,000 of those acres, while another 1.5 million acres were offered for new enrollments. There is also a state program in South Dakota that pays landowners to plant vegetation along streams, and that now has 130 buffer projects, which spans 379 miles of shoreline statewide, and more landowners are waiting to enroll. This update was presented to the Game, Fish, and Parks Commission, and it comes months after the state lawmakers approved an additional $8 million to expand the program to a statewide level. The initiative is administered under the Department of Ag and Natural Resources, and it pays landowners to establish grassy buffers, not a buffy grasser, but a grassy buffer along eligible waterways. That reduces erosion. It filters pollutants, and it really will improve the wildlife habitat while allowing continued ag use. So it's not a land retirement program, but a working buffer. The landowners agree to keep cattle off the enrolled acres from May 1 to September 30th and can't mow or bale hay from May 1 to August 1st. And there are 130 projects along 118 streams, mostly within the Big Sioux River watershed. Now, further things that are going on, an American tragedy perhaps was in the making because the majority of small business owners will retire over the next decade. Think about your vendors and suppliers. Maybe they're veterinarians, fencing services, feed mills. About 40 to 50% of small business owners expect to retire within the next decade. And that information comes from the University of Rhode Island's College of Business. It's called the silver tsunami of business retirement. And that means the local economy and local communities are going to lose some very powerful economic engines. We'll keep an eye on that and more for you in the coming weeks. Thanks for being here for this Friday of Weather and Ag in Focus. Look forward to the Jay Thomas Show coming up next. I bet he's going to recap the big car show last night that happened in the region. Talk to you soon.